speaking of criminal punishment and some things that are really threatening to the UK, this is something that you can argue is not really threatening to the people of Wales, even though it is really disrespectful and really disgusting. This is stuff that we're getting onto now that is in the realm of the threatening. Very, very threatening, especially to your children. So if you have a child in public school in England, Wales, Scotland, whatever, you really want to take note of this next bit and everything that we're going to be saying going forward. We now basically have Islamic Jihad posters appearing in many primary schools and classrooms across the UK, but they're exactly the way that you would think, and they're exactly as misrepresentative as you would think, right? So this poster, which I'm going to be bringing up on screen for you now, ladies and gentlemen, has "I am a Muslim" on it, and it has a gentleman of a lightish, although dark skin, like, not, somebody who's synonymous with the Middle East, let's just say that, right? So not as dark as you might see as somebody in, many parts of Africa, for example, but not obviously somebody who would be of the skin complexion of native to the UK, of like a Celtic background, right? Somebody who would be native to the Middle East, to Arabia, should we say. And you have God, Holy Book, Muslim festivals, worship, dietary customs, and 5 pillars of Islam, as well as one other, which I'll get onto in a moment, which is quite suspicious. So as you can imagine, it's designed for kids. It looks quite nice. It's a purple background. And, it says things like, "I believe that there is only one God, Allah, and that Muhammad was the last prophet sent by Allah." All of this stuff is just meant to be quote-unquote educational, right? The Holy Book, for example, the Imam instructs me from the Quran in Arabic. The Quran was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad by God. It teaches me how to worship Allah and to behave towards others. Notice it doesn't say anything about what it actually teaches, right? Such as don't take the Christians and Jews and polytheists as friends, right? And that Muslims, in the name of Allah, done many, many heinous things to them and continue to do many, many heinous things to them all across the world to this day. It's still going on to this day, right? That children their age were set upon and attacked by Muslims for ethno-religious reasons and had heinous, disgusting things done to them, and that anybody that tried to rescue them was deemed as a racist or an Islamophobe, right? Muslim festivals you have, Ramadan and all of the stuff, right? Dietary customs, worship, the 5 pillars of Islam. However, the one that sparked a lot of outrage, as you can imagine, is that for some reason, our schools in the UK think it's appropriate, as I will zoom in on this section for you, to teach children, it's coming up on screen for you now, ladies and gentlemen, about jihad. So it says, as well as following the 5 pillars of Islam, I must understand jihad and strive to be a good Muslim. Greater jihad is the personal struggle to live a life of obedience to God and to not give in to temptation. Lesser jihad is the physical struggle to protect the Islamic faith in the world. So obviously, why are they teaching this to children, first off? But also, obviously, they're not going to teach what jihad actually manifests like in the real world, right? They're going to give them a very little cutesy thing. A cutesy representation, as you can see, by the poster. So you got to take into account, ladies and gentlemen, when you have a foreign Muslim as in control, rather, of much of the education within the UK, in control of it, you understand how these things end up getting disseminated then through the public school system, right? So the UK educator and chief executive of Star Academies, Hamid Patel, right? So as I said, Hamid Patel is a prominent UK educator and chief executive of Star Academies? Let me just read this. Yep, Star Academies, whose leadership has elevated schools like to Tawheedul Islam Girls High School. All right. When you have a very prominent figure in education in England or in Britain that looks like this, it's very easy to see how these things get through when they wouldn't have been taught before, when they would have had no place in our system of education before, because we did not let go of what the true principles of our education was, right? And the true faith, right? Should then surprise you not that in Wales, for example, they'll then especially with Plaid Cymru fanatics, want to dress up just regular girls in hijabs and Islamic clothing, right? To try and bring them closer to some of the, stigma that some of the girls go through in Islam or whatever from obviously the native oppressive white Welsh people, right? Who understand that this is not of their culture. It is completely alien. It is not good. Why are our people wearing it? They have their own culture. They have their own dress, right? Why are they wearing one of a foreign religion and instances of a foreign people, right? But obviously Plaid Cymru in particular, such as Beth Said or Beth Sayed, want to push this through and get more funding for this kind of stuff and get more awareness for this kind of stuff. Because if Plaid get their way, they want to go on about reform, not preserving the Welsh language and stuff like that. Plaid will happily put on one of their adverts, and seemingly at least, an Arab lady wearing a niqab or a hijab, whichever one it is that only allows the eyes to be seen, right? And put in a Welsh phrase next to it saying, was it Wales, it's us or whatever, or was it radicals, it's us or whatever. I can't remember what the exact phrase next to it was. Hinting that supposedly the based Welsh nationalists that are nationalists that want to separate us from our sister nations in the UK, but want to take us further to the EU. So normally a nationalist, they don't want to be governed by anybody, right? In terms of a higher government, right? And then you have Christian nationalist groups, quote unquote, like Britain First or Jada Franson's party or whatever, that claim they want to be the government, but they would do so from a Christian perspective, right? So they would be subservient to the Lord, right? But a nationalist, in theory, just wants to be in control of the nation that he is native to, right? And doesn't want any other government having any other kind of control, right? There's a particular true sovereign land, and then the nationalist in government is the highest authority with regards to government, right? Whether they then subserviate themselves to another higher power is a different question. So your supposed nationalists that want to have control of Wales, they want us to be subservient to the EU. That should completely dispel any notion to you that Plaid, obviously a nationalist. They're not nationalists, they're globalists. But now they want to call for white Welsh girls, to be put in hijabs. And here is Bethan herself explaining why she thinks that this is an absolutely great thing.
And so in one school, they had a white girl wearing a hijab. First Minister, on Friday, I was with the Ethnic Youth Support Team in Swansea, and they were saying that they would like to have much more support going into schools and education venues in regards to trying to get communities to work together. And so in one school, they had a white girl wearing a hijab, and she walked down the street, and then she came back and she said how different she felt she'd been treated because she was just wearing one piece of headwear that was different to how she would usually dress. And I think these types of things would help children who've never been introduced to other communities or other ethnicities in their lives to try and understand how it is to live in those everyday experiences. So I was wondering if
so they put a white girl in hijab, and she basically come back and said how differently she thought that she'd been treated just because she changed one bit of headwear, changed one bit of clothing. But obviously it's nothing to do with the clothing in and of itself. It's what it represents, and people understand exactly what it represents. It represents a foreign, encroaching, colonizing, imperialistic culture that is taking over the native culture, and in this instance is being subsidized by the government, right, against the wishes of many of the Welsh people, right? So they'll just deny that everything's happening. You've got Julie James denying that illegal immigration is a problem and that we need to make it easier for people to come and invade Wales, right? We need to make it easier and not stigmatize people who don't come through the traditional legal routes, right? Even though I'd argue that for at least the last 15 years in Britain, the legal routes, because of how much they've been taken advantage of by systematic governments, the Conservatives, Labour, etc., Conservatives in their 14 years in power, obviously, they rendered that system illegal. So that's why I would argue that any migration at that point above the certain limit that the Conservatives said that they were going to set is in fact illegal, even if they did so by quote-unquote legal means, because the legal means did not adhere to what the government said that they would do. So that's why I say that why I would support remigration, especially, like, at least, I know many people want to take it back to the 1940s, right, levels of the 1940s, right, and a lot of them say by any means necessary. don't necessarily like it when I hear that kind of talk, So you're going to look back at people doing things by any means necessary, and it leads to really, really not good things. And it's partly me seeing that. I hope at least that now that the pendulum has swung so far one way and people are so angry, I just hope it doesn't swing so far back that way. Because a lot of people whom you might argue didn't have the right to come here were allowed to by a traitorous government, and that's where, in my opinion, the true anger should be directed. Should not be directed at the family. Even if we do have to do some things that we don't like, and we do have to send back people that in many ways you could argue have done no wrong, because the system should not have been allowed to bring them. That's the thing. They were betrayed by the system also. That's the way, at least, that I see it, right? They might have been coming here for a better life, obviously, for a better economic opportunity or whatever, but they were betrayed by the same system because they were brought in under false pretenses. They were brought in to be a vote to get rid of the democratic right of the British people. That's what they were brought in for, right? And that was done by legal means and illegal means. But the government, with the way that they applied it, rendered the legal system illegal by the numbers that they brought people in. That's the way that I see it, at the very, very least. I don't hate people based on their skin color or ethnicity or anything like that. Okay? People that have come over here and done heinous, disgusting crimes for ethno-religious reasons, I could not care what happens to them. As far as I'm concerned, they can be chucked in a pit, right? They can be done away with, taken around the back of the shed, 2 in the back of the head, and thrown in a pit altogether. I don't give a shit what happens to them, right? The gang rapists and the rape gang people and the people that support them, right? I couldn't give a shit what happens to them. Just the person that's come over here, wherever they may have come from, they've brought their family with them. They wanted a new start for whatever reason, but they came here on a system that should not have been in place. I do actually feel some pity and sorry for those people with what is likely coming in the future. And I hope at the very, the very least, a lot of people, they're so angry, they want to do some, at least from what I can see, quite evil things if they were to get onto the levers of power. A lot of these people, they want the same totalitarian system that we have now. They just want it for their own ends, right? And that's what I really don't like personally. A lot of them say they're not for free speech, they're not for free, and the minute, say, for example, a Christian, based on their, moral obligations, it says that, no, this is wrong, they're going to turn on their, in theory, they're going to turn on their own countrymen if they say, well, no, this is wrong, right? If those things do happen, right? So they might claim to be for their people. This is the thing. A lot of these people, they might claim to be for their people. But if, say, you're a Christian and you say that, no, this is going too far, this is wrong, whatever, they might throw you in with all the rest of them, similar to how they did in the 20th century. A lot of these people coming up now, as I said, are true National Socialists, if what they say is to be believed. And I don't think that that's necessarily much, if any, better than what we got now. But the immigration and the remigration thing does need to be addressed. Absolutely. It does need to be addressed. I just feel a little bit of pity for people. I know I got off on a massive tangent here, but I do feel, some element of pity for people that have come here. They might not necessarily have done anything wrong. They might have come here, set up a business, just wanted to do right by their family. But they've done so under a system that was illegal. And that's why I don't always do a good job, especially when I'm talking about, foreigners that have come over here and raped children and all the rest of it, right? I couldn't give a shit what happens to them. But a lot of people, they've come over here on a system that they weren't allowed to, but they didn't know. They didn't know. But that doesn't mean that we, just have to sit here and tolerate it. I suppose we'll see what happens going forward. I just hope that the pendulum, what I'm saying is I just hope that the pendulum doesn't shift back too far. That's what I'm saying, because it's very, very liable to. People are very angry. People are very angry because they've seen, for example, that their kids especially are being affected. So children in the UK now are now having to do lockdown drills in schools, right? Many places in the UK, due to the mass influx of foreigners, due to the mass influx of hostile ideologies, and the foreigners bringing hostile ideologies, they now have to do lockdown drills. They'll never mention the danger, even though schools now are sending out letters to parents. Schools now are sending out letters to parents telling them to tell their children to avoid migrants on the way home, as if children are going to be able to do anything with regards to that. If they accost a rapey migrant on the way home, as if they're going to be able to do anything about it. Obviously, the adult is going to be faster. The adult is going to be stronger, right? So what the hell are the fucking kids going to do? The schools are admitting that they know that there's a problem. It's manifesting in all of the actions, even if they won't say what the culprit is, because obviously it goes against their PC, politically correct narrative. But here's the video of oh, hang on a minute. Here we go. Here's the video inside. This is from the TikTok account UK Police Exposed, but it's on X as well, of a lockdown drill happening in a school.
This school is in lockdown. This school is in lockdown. This school is in lockdown.
It might appear that we're raising concerns, raising children's fears, but in actual fact, they're quite calm doing it now. They understand the importance of doing it, and it doesn't worry them.
This school is in lockdown.
I'm going to pause that a minute, ladies and gentlemen. Pupils as young as 5 are rehearsing these drills and hiding under tables. But the other thing is, he said it as if it was fucking normal. That's the problem. The problem is now this has gotten such to be a big problem, and they've now rehearsed it and normalized it so much that if the kids aren't scared by this, that is indicative of the problem still. Because showing that the problem hasn't gone away, you've just desensitized them to it. But the fact of the matter is, why do we have to have lockdown drills in schools? Because we've imported a bunch of people that are outright hostile to us. They see them as over us morally, right? They see themselves as superior to us morally, and also on reasons of ethnicity, right? But yet the government is like, let's bring in more of them. Let's bring in more and more and more of them, and let's give them every single thing possible, give them every single concession possible, screw over the fucking taxpayer and the native person, pardon me, screw over the native person and the taxpayer at every single turn by wasting their money. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to see if I can find the stat for you. Not only the prices of British shops rising at 4 times the rate of France and twice as fast as in Italy and Germany, but the total cost, if I can find it a bit quick, the total cost of housing asylum seekers for, let me see if I can find it. The total costs of housing asylum seekers, here it is, for 2024 to 2025 was 4.76 billion, according to GB Politics. According to GB Politics page on X, you have 4.76 billion pounds spent just on asylum housing, so the hotels and stuff. You can't help people for being angry, especially then when this is directly causing their children to be put in danger. And even worse then is it seemingly, especially with regards to the term being used, right, and the ideas it's meant to represent, being now tried to be normalized with regards to children, which parents are rightfully angry about. You have people within the classrooms, people within the schools, funnily enough, none of our people, trying to defend it, trying to defend everything that's going on. Now, a lot of these people might condemn the attacks and stuff like that. We've seen a lot of them outright don't. A lot of them celebrate it. I'm not saying that this gentleman does in particular. I'm not saying that. But we've seen no end of people. I covered posts before. A post, I believe it was, of either a crash or some kind of, it might have been a car got set on fire in a crash and somebody lost their life. But I can't remember exactly what happened. But a native person either got hurt or died. And there was a bunch of foreigners laugh reacting the news article in which a person died. Right? There's a bunch of fucking foreigners. So forgive us for being a bit fucking sick and tired of these people, right? But, have jihad, as I said, in British classrooms, schools having to do lockdown drills as young as 5 years old, mind you. And you have the teachers defending all of these ideas being brought into the classroom, such as this clip from GB News recently.
My view, while I would like to reword the last sentence of that section, I don't have any fundamental problems with it. This is not a theology paper. This is written for children. The important thing it explains is, first of all, the meaning of the word jihad, which is struggle. The greater jihad is the internal religious struggle. The lesser jihad, which has always happened throughout history, is if Muslims are being attacked to defend themselves. It's no different from the Christian just war theory. There are all kinds of Muslim rules about jihad has to be declared by the authorities. And right now, there is no authority in the world which is legally empowered to declare jihad. But the idea that we make jihad into some kind...
I want to ask something with regards to that. What authority was there then to authorize the rape of Britain? What authority was there to authorize the rape jihad? Or was that people just acting in ways that Muslims don't act, right? No, they want to normalize this for kids. They want to normalize this for kids. And people that want to do this, I have no sympathy for. I have no want in my country. They should be gone. And this entire ideology should be removed. If we want to teach about Islam, you know, should teach about the truth, about the way that it treats women. Should teach them about why women in Iran have to wear the post-box covering, right? You should teach them why now that even the IRGC has gone further because apparently women only need one eye to see. Not only do they have to cover them head to toe in either all black or whatever other colors whatever other color the abaya and niqab and hijab, whatever it is, comes in. All right, they got to cover themselves head to toe, and if they show a bit of ankle, they'll get fucking beaten, right? But now they need to wear eye patches under that because they only need one eye to fucking see. Why don't we talk about the human rights abuses that have been done in the name of Islam? Why don't we talk about all of these things? But no, they never bring these things forward. Never bring these things forward. Why don't we talk about what spawned the Crusades? What spawned the call for the Crusades? How many lands that Muslims had taken over that were once Christian and the atrocities that were taking place in those lands that spawned the call for the Crusades? Why don't we talk about that? Why don't we educate kids with regards to that? You know? Get angry, man. So these people are in positions of educating your kids. This guy in particular, I don't think he's in the school system itself. He is the chairman. His name is Mohammed Amin. He's the former chairman of the Conservative Muslim Forum. I would not, spare any tears if this man was deported. I'll just say that. And this entire ideology simply needs to be removed. It's very hostile to us. It's hostile to him. For all the people that say that, Christians are hostile to women. It's funny enough how you don't see any of these people clamoring to live in a Muslim country like Iran, or a lot of the, queers for Palestine and lefties for Palestine folks wanting to go and live in Gaza. You don't see that very often, do you? You don't see that because they know what would happen. They know what would happen. But of course, Muslim sees nothing wrong with it. It's for us to see the problem with it. These foreigners are not going to see the problems with it because they like this stuff coming in. They like reaping the rewards of our weak government and our soft touch as a people. They like it. So let's not do that, please. Let's maybe do something different. Let's maybe stop being a soft touch.